What would you do if someone you knew, Facebook friend perhaps, started posting extreme right-wing misinformation meant to influence the federal election in Canada? Would you intervene? Or would you run screaming with your hair on fire? Because I did the former, and I don't think it went very well. And I'm wondering now if there was something I could have done different. If there's some way to stop this stuff. And why do I care so much that 5 days after this happened, I'm making this video? So what is a Facebook friend? I know what a real world friend is. I'm not very good at it, but I know what it is. But Facebook friends are a weird collection of people. Kid you went to preschool with, high school teacher, some guy I met at a concert in Boise. It's kind of an incomplete list of people I've interacted with throughout my life. And what is our responsibility to these people? Is it anything more than putting a thumbs up when they post a picture of their pet? A little care symbol when something bad happens to them? I don't really know. The person we're going to talk about today, we'll call her Jane, is somebody I knew in the real world. Not a friend, but a friendly coworker. I think we worked together for maybe a year and a half. Always got along. One of those people that made the place a little bit brighter. But we never hung out outside of work, didn't have any mutual friends. Eventually we both left the place of employment. We both moved. We stayed in touch for a while. The occasional, hey, how's it going on Facebook? That petered out. Last time I'd seen anything from this person was 4 or 5 years ago. So it was a little odd when they popped up in my feed. Is it a feed? What is it called? Page time? I don't use Facebook a lot. Once, twice a week, I might check up on it. So a couple weeks ago, I open it up, and the very first post on my feed is a story about Mark Carney using the police to attack fishermen protesters out east at some liberal convention event. I was incensed when I saw this. It sounded horrible. I want to make something clear. I am not a liberal voter. I have never voted liberal in my life. I am a perpetual third-party voter. I pray each and every election for a minority government because they can do the least amount of damage. And I would be just as open to the possibilities that the liberals had done any of these terrible things that the right wing is claiming that they've done. I quickly realized that this was from an unreliable news source, certainly one I'd never heard of. I know because I looked it up. So instead I did a Google search on Mark Carney, fishermen, police. And the results I got, the very first result, was a CBC story about a real event. And every other entry on the page was the exact same story that Jane had posted, the exact same headline. So I clicked on the CBC story and found out that this was a pretty innocuous event that the misinformation was trying to gin up. I wondered, should I respond to this post? Should I inform her of what I had found out? Or should I just move on with my life? And I chose the latter. A few days later, I open up Facebook, and once again, Jane's posts are at the top of my feed. This one about Mark Carney saying that America was dead, and I don't know. Again, semi-true, based on a real event, but completely taken out of context. One of her other friends had actually responded to this, trying to fact check it themselves, pointed out to Jane that they had actually watched the press conference with Mark Carney, and none of this was said in the light that this story was trying to make it out. And Jane had responded to her friend, defiantly doubling down on the story, insisting that she had watched the same press conference and it was all true. I realized that this friend of Jane's had done exactly what I was going to do, had failed miserably. I was right in the first case, to just move on with my life. A few days after this, a third post. Now what the hell is going on with my feed here? I have not seen anything from this person in 4 or 5 years, and now every time I open Facebook, I'm getting their right-wing misinformation posts at the very top of my feed. To be sure, there is very little political on my own Facebook page. The only group I am a member of is the Star Trek The Motion Picture Appreciation Club. There's nothing political going on here. But why on earth would these things be suddenly being shoved at me? And the only thing I can conclude is demographics. I am a middle-aged Gen X white dude. I am exactly what the conservatives are hoping for to win this election. Now, I am not like those other conservative guys, all right? The people who post memes about how they were the kids that rode their bikes until the streetlights went on, like it was fucking Nam. So why is Facebook pushing this to me? It's not like I'm getting it from the original posters, I'm getting it from this friend's reposts, which means the algorithm has to be scrubbing through her friends to find friends that are demographically matched. None of these sites appear to be large enough or wealthy enough to afford this sort of level of advertising, demographically specific Facebook algorithm stuff. I mean, maybe one of them, but all of them? It seems like something that Facebook itself is doing. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe this is a conspiracy theory, I only have my own anecdotal evidence for it. So if you're a middle-aged white woman, because apparently they're dropping them like flies on the conservative side, are you receiving a whole bunch of anti-conservative propaganda? I'd love to know. Leave a comment below. I love Star Trek. It's a show about smart, competent, emotionally mature people coming together to solve problems. And that, unfortunately, is the great fiction of Star Trek. Not phasers or photon torpedoes, but the idea of smart, competent, emotionally mature people coming together to solve problems. Nevertheless, it has had a huge influence on me and my approach to life, particularly Mr. Spock. Mr. Spock uses his tricorder to collect empirical evidence, primary sources, and only when necessary, because he is half human, does he introduce something emotional like intuition into the equation. And it was that approach that I brought to fact-checking this third post. So I'm not going to promote this video. If you really want to watch the whole thing, you go check out Liam Out Loud. Don't say I didn't warn you. It's just a shithole of lies. What I am going to do is talk about some of the main claims. It starts with a story about a mysterious $40 billion being okayed by the Governor General in some unprecedented special warrant move, and nobody knows where this money is before it backs up to how we got started. Their claims start with the Green Slush Fund. Their three-word slogan for what is in fact the Green Energy Initiative, meant to fund green energy projects. Auditor General looked into the bidding process and found a large number of conflict of interests. The Liberal government shut down the fund before handing over all of their documents to the RCMP to investigate further. The video then claims that the Liberal government shut down Parliament, prorogued, in order to avoid consequences of their massive corruption. In actuality, the Conservatives put forward an unprecedented motion, and I mean unprecedented in literal fashion. It has never been used, demanding that the government hand over more documents to the RCMP. The Liberal government claims that this is unconstitutional, and the RCMP agrees with them, saying that they don't believe that they can use documents received in this manner because it is unconstitutional. Unfortunately, the specific mechanism that the Conservatives use, this unprecedented motion, supersedes all other government business. Nothing else can happen. No other business until this demand is met or the Conservatives rescind it. The Liberals have a good faith argument backed up by the RCMP that this is unconstitutional. The Conservatives will not rescind this motion. Impasse. And that is why Parliament was prorogued. The next big claim in this video is the undemocratic selection of Mark Carney as Prime Minister. There's nothing undemocratic in the way Mark Carney was appointed Prime Minister. It is our democratic process, which brings us back to the $40 billion. Where is this money going? How did this unprecedented move of the Governor General using some special warrant, how did this all go down? Well, it's a government continuation bill. Keeps the lights on. You see, every spring, the government puts forward a yearly budget. Last spring's budget was for roughly just over $450 billion. There would have been a federal budget this spring, but we're having an election. So the $40 billion is just to keep the lights on. It is 1 month's worth of federal spending. It is to keep the government functioning until a new government is elected and they have time to put forward their own budget. And I'm certain that had the government not done this and all government business come to a halt, Conservatives would be complaining about the incompetence of the government being shut down under the Liberals. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. And the special warrant is not unprecedented. It was most recently used in February by the Saskatchewan Conservatives. And yes, while I did use some reporting, I also found as much source material as I could. It's the beauty of the government in this country. They are legally bound to publish what's going on. You can read the Auditor General's report. You can read the conclusions. You can read the RCMP's public statement. You can read this special warrant. You can read the budget, and you can read about how democracy works in Canada. All of this is publicly available. Just take a little bit of time. Everything I've just told you now took me roughly only 30 minutes to confirm. I mean, that might seem like a big sacrifice of time. I saw it as a single rerun of Cheers that I didn't watch. Didn't seem like too much to give up to be informed. I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. I'm a very bad person. I'm a bad friend. I'm a bad lover. I'm a bad date. I'm the kid that knew Santa Claus wasn't real because I kept getting presents. This isn't about me being some perfect person. It's about taking a little bit of time to find out what was actually going on. So what do I do with this information? I saw what happened to the last friend of hers who tried to step in and steer her towards more accurate sources. And how would I explain all this? What am I supposed to write a fact check? It would be a 10,000 word post. I'd look insane. Do I look nuts to you? That's the problem with social media. It's very easy for somebody to put together a minute-long zippy video with lots of big scary words flashing at you, and for me to actually respond to it by social media norms would make me look like a crazy person. And I'm not crazy. Do I look nuts to you? But at the same time, this is my friend, my Facebook friend. I feel some obligation to fellow citizens to inform them of what's going on. So I thought, the best I can do is what her friend did, to just encourage her to check her sources, to steer her in the right direction. Hell, she shouldn't believe me any more than she believes Liam out loud. Do your own research. I know that is the most misused phrase in the English language. You're worthless. Your mother and I never loved you. But there is an intelligent form of do your own research out there. So I figured I'll do the same as her other friend. I'll gently suggest she do some fact checking. 2 friends are telling you this. Maybe she'll look into it. It's not like we're crazy, unhinged people. Do I look deranged? I was posting stuff and 2 of my friends came back and told me that this was completely wrong. I'd look into it. I'm filled with self-loathing and self-doubt. I just assume I get everything wrong. So do some fact-checking. That's all I'm asking. The following is what I wrote. I strongly recommend you fact-check the news you are watching. Didn't take me long to learn this is chock full of misinformation and purposefully misleading, as were the last 2 political stories you posted. Misinformation doesn't make an informed electorate. Fact-checking does. Now, could I have written this in a less pretentious prick manner? Very likely. But I wasn't telling her what to think. I wasn't telling her what conclusions to draw. I was just suggesting fact-checking. This is the response I received. Because my news sources aren't paid by the government, I would question any news source accepting money from the government. That sounds like socialism to me. SNC Lavalin, Arrive Scam, the Green Slush Fund, Randy Boissonnault, Nazis in Parliament, catch and release of criminals, free drugs for everybody, especially near schools and bee parks. That's just the tip of the iceberg with this Liberal Party. It goes on and on. She followed it up with the question, if you know where this $40 billion has gone, please share. Yes, I know where the $40 billion has gone, because I looked it up. She's both doubling down, but also saying it doesn't matter if any of the details are correct, because here's a long list of other things that I just have sloganeering titles for and no details. It's a Steve Bannon flood the zone style of argument here. There's an assumption that all of my fact-checking came from the CBC. To be fair, the CBC was one source that I used. In fact, it was one source she used. I'm not gonna fact check every one of these things that she's listed off. Catch and release of criminals. This is the myth that the Conservatives are pushing right now, that we're in the middle of a crime wave. These are the stats. Free drugs for everybody. We're getting ripped off. I pay for my drugs. Who's getting free drugs? I want to know about that program. And it was followed up by a friend of hers who commented, "You tell them. You tell them." I mean, based on her not knowing how CBC works or how government funding of CBC works, I'm sure she could find a way to discount all of the source material I found on the government website. I mean, it's run by the liberals, isn't it? And this kind of propaganda attacks intellectualism and they can counter the lies the Conservatives are pushing. I want to make this clear. Jane cares about her country, and her caring is being weaponized by these people. What I don't understand is how anybody could fall for this after a decade of social media misinformation being a topic. Lots of warnings, lots of people telling you not to get your news from social media, and yet somebody does this. They do so willingly. That's how con artists work. They can't con somebody unless the person they're conning wants what they're offering. I mean, she could have read everything I read, and she could still hate the liberals, but at least she would hate them for the right reasons and not made up bullshit. So this is the section for mental health experts. I'm really not sure how to answer this question. When I saw that response, I spent 24 solid hours thinking about nothing else. How to respond, drafting possible responses, knowing all of them would fail to change her mind. And yet I kept trying. I kept rewriting them. I went out for breakfast the next day. This is all I talked about. And luckily that friend suggested that I put my energy not into trying to counter her with another response, but instead making this video for you. So you have her to blame, not me. I said my piece, and yet it still bothers me. Why? I think maybe because I've watched what's happened in the US. I've watched the magnification. People's brains melted, and that country, which was once an ally of ours, turned into an existential threat through this kind of lies and misinformation. And I've seen somebody who's a very caring individual have that caringness weaponized by nefarious forces against our country. And it pisses me off. So what could I have done different? Is there anything I could have done? Do you know? Tell me. Leave your comments below. And so we don't go out on a dark note, what's the deal with Captain Pike's wheelchair? It's described as being able to move forwards, backwards a little. What the hell's so difficult about moving backwards? I mean, we got wheelchairs now that can go backwards. What kind of engineering catastrophe happens in the next 300 years to cause wheelchairs to not be able to go backwards? I mean, can you do like a 360, like a turnaround? Because I think that